DreAllDay.com.
What up, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Welcome to the Q&A. This is Q&A number 53. For those of you who don't know how this works with the Q&A, I actually go through all the comments, which are in the form of questions from the previous week's Q&A, which will be Q&A number 52. So what you're gonna see on this video is me responding to the comments from the previous week's Q&A, just straight off the comments, the same ones that you can see are the ones that I can see. I respond to those, make a video out of it, which you're watching right now, and then I post that as the next Q&A. So this is Q&A 53. If you have a question, you leave it in the comments to this video, and I'll respond to it next week, which will be Q&A 54. I record this video every Friday, so make sure you get your questions, your comments posted before Friday, because I usually record sometime in the early afternoon. Right now it's like 11:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you post a comment after that, then I won't see it, I won't get to it, and it won't be addressed. So make sure you post it in the most recent Q&A, and I read these from the first comment posted to the last comment posted. So the person who posts comments first, those are the ones that'll be the first questions to get answered. So now that we got that out the way, we're going to get straight into the Q&A this week. I don't believe I have any housekeeping things to point out to y'all. Y'all know you get any of your WOYG, work on your game gear, at WOYG.net. All the workout programs are at hoophandbook.com, and all the videos about any question you can possibly ask me are covered somewhere on this channel, youtube.com/DREUPT. But since I know everybody don't have the time and effort, and you might not even know where to find some of the questions the answers to some of the questions that you got, I do this Q&A to give people that information. So I'm sure everything I just mentioned, I'm going to mention again at several points during this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. First question is coming from Glenn Svey. He says, Dre, I'm a big fan of your vids. I've been watching since I was really young. I'm 16 years old, and I want to ask you, there are 7 billion people in the world, and probably millions play basketball. I agree. And he says, do I think hard work and perfect practice can take you to your dreams of the NBA, no matter what your height, body weight, etc.? Well, first of all, Glenn, if you were to base everything on that, how many other people are trying to get to where you're going, you'd be extremely discouraged, because there's nothing that you're going to try to do, nothing that you want to reach that's a high level that nobody else is trying to do, that there's like less people trying to get it than there are available spaces. There will always be more people who want, or at least claim they want, to reach something than there are available positions for everybody to actually get to. So if you look at it that way, then yeah, you're going to be extremely discouraged every single day, and eventually you might think that it's completely hopeless. So your question is, do I think hard work and perfect practice can make your dreams happen? Well, that depends on who's the person doing the hard work and who's the person doing the perfect practice. I think those are two elements, Glenn. Those are two things that definitely matter. You definitely have to work hard if you want to reach a high level in anything, and you definitely have to practice if you want to be good at something. Now, perfect practice, I know people say that, you had a phrase that practice makes perfect, and then someone will say, well, perfect practice makes perfect. But that doesn't really make sense to me, because when you're practicing, it's not going to be perfect. That's the reason you're practicing in the first place. You're going to mess up in practice. You're going to make errors in practice. That's the reason you keep practicing over and over until you get good or close to perfect. Nobody's perfect. No human being is perfect. And the game of basketball is an imperfect game. If you look at the best player in basketball, the people with the best shooting percentages, talking about wing or perimeter players, if you shoot 50%, you're doing pretty well. Somewhere close in that 50% range, that's pretty good for a wing player. Even the big guys shoot somewhere in the 60% range if they're doing great. Even a guy like Shaq, who was bigger and stronger than everybody and athletic, he shot in the 60% range, and he was right there next to the basket. So there is no perfect basketball player. You look at baseball, the best hitters, people always use the cliche, they are successful 3 out of every 10 times they come up to the plate. So there is no perfection, at least not in basketball. Maybe in something like, I don't know, figure skating, you could be perfect, but that's all based on judges, which is all subjective. So it's not really perfect, it's just their opinion. So anyway, hard work is definitely important. Practice is definitely important, Glenn. I think what you need to do is focus more on you than you're focusing on what everybody else is doing. If you focus on yourself, you'll get to the highest levels that you can achieve. You'll reach your potential. Now, if your potential is going to be at the NBA, if it's going to be something different, we don't know. But you do have to actually do the work. You do have to do that hard work. You have to do that practice in order to find out. So I can't really predict what you can do. And I'm not really the person to answer for what you're capable of. The only person who can answer for what Glenn is capable of is Glenn. So you had to answer that question for yourself, actually, not only through your words, but through your actions. The next question is Raman 5R. He says, your videos are amazing. Thank you, Raman. And he says, it helped me, especially with my left hand. He said, what are my thoughts on LaMarcus Aldridge? I think he's the best power forward in the league, but some people think that Blake Griffin is better. I think it's a good question to ask between the two of them. LaMarcus is playing great right now. Blake's playing great. And I think they have definitely very different type of games, whereas Blake is much more on the athletic, explosive side. LaMarcus Aldridge has some athleticism and explosion, but he's an excellent shooter, especially in that face-up position. He's good at shooting the turnaround because he's tall and he has long arms and a high release point, whereas Blake is a guy who's going to get you the highlights. He's going to dunk on guys. So he gets more attention. But I can't say that LaMarcus Aldridge is better than Blake because we got to look at performance. If you look at the numbers, I don't have their numbers in front of me. They both put up solid numbers. I think Blake's been putting up better numbers, maybe longer than LaMarcus. I could be wrong about that. So don't go crazy if I am wrong about that. Blake's been winning just as much as Aldridge has been winning. LaMarcus they made the playoffs last year. They got to the second round. And Blake and the Clippers got to the second round too. So we can't say he got wins over him. We can't really say he has stats over him. So I think it is definitely a good debate. It'd be really good to see the Clippers against the Blazers in the playoffs. So we get to see Lillard against Chris Paul. We get to see LaMarcus against Blake Griffin, even though who knows, they might not even guard each other. But I think it'd be a good matchup to see. But I can't say definitively who's better than who because there's nothing that either one of them clearly has over the other except Blake has the popularity, but we're not basing this on popularity, we're basing it on performance. I think they both have performed at a high level. So is LaMarcus in the conversation for top power forward in the league? Yes, he absolutely is. Next question. KB Titan 24. He says, time to work and stay off YouTube. Thank you, Dre. He says he wants to approach the game with a set attitude and start doing things, stop wanting them. All right, KB Titan, congratulations on the what's the word I'm looking for here? The epiphany that you came to here. Next question, Ben G. He says, I always hear you say that you had to play in games to gain game experience. And yes, you do hear me say that. He says he lives in Australia though, and his school season is only 8 games. It's a very short season. He doesn't feel like he's gaining a lot of experience because the season is so short. So his question is, how can you simulate a game-like situation through practice? Well, Ben, you can't really. That's the reason why you had to play in games, because you can't simulate a game situation in practice. And practice is a controlled environment. You know what's going to happen. You know who's where. And in practice, a lot of times you set things up so people can practice the skills. You're working on the skills. So I might set up, it's like somebody who wants to use chairs or cones. You know the chairs or the cones are not going to move when you do your moves or your little crossover. The chair is not going to react and try to steal the ball. You're working on the actual physical skills, the mechanics of it. But a game situation allows you to work on the instincts because you're playing against people whom you don't know how they're going to respond. They react, you have to react. So you develop your instincts in the game situation. Then why don't you go find some games to play in? Since your season is only 8 games, that means there are people out there who play basketball, right? So it doesn't have to be an official game with refs and a scoreboard. Go play in a pickup game. It's still a game situation because you're playing against a person for whom you can't predict what they're going to do. You don't know what plays they're running or if they're running plays at all or how they're going to respond. So that will help you get better at responding instinctively to what happens on the floor, which is different from practice in which you know what's going to happen because there's nobody out there reacting. It's just you. So that's the difference between the two. So go find some pickup games or a recreational league outside of the school league and play in that. It will help you just the same. Next question, Michael Patterson. He says, what age did you move out of your parents' house? And was that an easy or hard transition? I was 24. I had played, if you read up on I don't think I even wrote that much detail on my website, but when I write my next basketball book, which will cover my whole basketball experience, like through the professional years and all that, I was 24. I had played in, let me see, one place, two places. I played in two places professionally, came back home, lived there for a minute, and then I got a 9-to-5 job at this gym in Philly called Philadelphia Sports Club, and I moved out when I was working there. And then I kept playing. I worked there for like 6 months, and then later on the next year I got another job playing ball and this, that, and the third. So yeah, I was about 24. No, it wasn't a hard transition at all. I wanted to get the hell out of there, so it was easy. Next question. John Carter says, thanks for posting drills. You've helped me and many others. Keep it up. Work on your fucking game. You're welcome, John. Thank you for letting me know. Kyle Wingo says, Dre, when was the last time, he said, when was the last time, I guess he meant me. He said but I think he meant you. When's the last time I played pickup and I passed to a teammate and they missed the shot? Anytime I play pickup, people miss shots. I don't think I've ever played in a pickup game where nobody missed a shot. Is there any particular time? I can't even think of it. I don't even play pickup as much as I used to, but anytime I play pickup, people miss shots. I miss shots, they miss shots, just like anywhere else. Hunter Stevens' question says, he says, for some reason, I work really hard and play regularly when I'm going against my brother and my friends, but when I actually play in the game, I feel nervous and I don't play like I usually do. Can I help? Well, Hunter, I can't really change the way you play, but you can change the way you play, and I can tell you how you can do that. Number one, it could be a physical thing, whereas what exactly are you practicing on and what kind of competition are you facing when you're playing in games? That's two things you can look at. But on the mental side, you can actually look at the guides and tips page on my website where I actually cover that in writing, and I actually have a video coming out that will also address this. It'll probably come out in the next couple of weeks. I already recorded it, just didn't come out yet. Next is Tamarat Tomlinson. He says, the word I was trying to say at some point was attention. I don't remember what he's referring to, but maybe he's right. Next question. Finlay Clark says, as a player, what would you say your best attribute is? Example, 3-point shooting, ball handling, etc. I think my best attribute is that I don't really have any holes in my game. So we talk offensively, defensively, scoring, rebounding, passing, shooting, driving, finishing, post game, defending different positions. I don't think there's anything that I'm not capable of. Not to say I'm super at everything, but there's not anything that I'm completely incapable of. Next question. Obito Swagarama says, Dre, can you do a day in the life series where I tour my house, show us my morning ritual, supplements, diet pills I take, and my pregame ritual? Well, first of all, there will not be a tour of my house. That will absolutely not happen. Second of all, my morning ritual, I might make a video where I talk about it. I'm not going to actually film myself and show you. So that part is a partial. Supplements and diet pills I take, I don't take any diet pills or supplements. So there is no, that's invalid. And my pregame ritual, I think I've made a vid talking about that. But if I ever go play in a game somewhere and I have somebody to follow me, because I can't film myself doing a pregame ritual, somebody got to be filming me. If I ever have somebody filming me, then and I'm playing in the game and I remember, I'll record that part. But the rest of it, not all of that really applies to anything that I would put on film. Next is Tyler404. Says, have you ever worked with a trainer? Or have you always just worked out by yourself? Yes, I've definitely worked with a trainer. You've seen Maria, who I work with off the court. If you're referring, Maria is in a whole bunch of my off the court videos. And if you have ever checked out my Hoop Handbook off the court programs, Position of Power and Ultimate Athlete, those are both written by Maria, and you'll see her in a few hundred of my videos on this channel. As far as on the court, I work with a few trainers, but nobody on a long-term consistent basis, but several I've worked with for a few sessions or a few weeks or for a summer and things like that. Not all of that was on film though. Next question. It says, who is my favorite current NBA player? I don't really have a favorite current NBA player. I just like watching the game. There's a good game going on or good players playing, I'll pay attention, but I don't have any one person. Ahmed Masood said he just started lifting. He wants to know if there's a specific way that a basketball player should lift, or should he just lift like everybody else in the gym? Well, Ahmed, there is no one way that everybody in the gym lifts, because everyone in the gym, if they know what they're doing, they have a specific reason why they're lifting. They have specific goals for why they're lifting, and on top of that, every person in the gym has a unique body. So everybody's not lifting the same way. And if you look at the way somebody else is lifting and you just do what they're doing, you're probably going to injure yourself or not get the results that you're after, because your body is not their body and you're not going for the same goals they're going for. And at the same time, is everybody else in the gym playing basketball? Probably not. So I don't think you want to copy what everybody else in the gym is doing. That would be a big mistake. Second of all, you need to know what it is you're achieving by lifting. You don't need to lift just to lift. Just because you play basketball doesn't mean you should be lifting weights. You have to ask yourself, why are you lifting weights? How is that going to help your ability to play basketball? And if you don't know that answer, then put the weights down and step away from the weight room until you know the answer. So once you know that answer, then you start lifting. You got to know what it is you want before you start taking action. And I think in life, not only in basketball, but in life, a lot of people start taking actions without having any idea what it is they're trying to accomplish. So figure out what you want first. And then when you're ready to lift, I suggest you take a look at my strength training program called the Position of Power, which I just mentioned, which you can get at hoophandbook.com, written by my trainer, Maria, who's an expert in that. It's not by a basketball player. It's not by some random guy in the gym lifting weights. It's written by a certified strength and conditioning coach. That's what you would need. Do not lift like everybody else in the gym. You're going to end up injured and or without the results that you want. But first of all, figure out your result. Next is Laker Bulls 241. He says, name my top 5 rappers, dead or alive. I don't want to give that list without really giving it too much thought. If I had to give my number 1 rapper though, I'd say Jay-Z. But I'm not going to give a top 5 because I had to think about that for a while. The King French says, do you prefer playing D-League or overseas? What are the pros or cons of each? How old were you when you first started working out? Thanks and keep up the great vids. Well, there are pros and cons to everything, and there are too many for me to list here in the Q&A, because as you can see, the King French, this is kind of a rapid fire thing, but what you can do is actually read what I've written on my website, because I've written extensively about all of these things. So if you really want to know, you should go read where I've written it in more detail. And his second question was, how old was I when I first started working out? I started playing basketball at age 14. And if you read my book, Buy a Game, that you can read for free on my website, the link is dreallday.com/buy-a-game. I will put an annotation up here for the book so you can read it, and probably also in the video description below, so you can read about my upbringing when it comes to playing basketball. But like I said, my pro life from age 22 on, and now I'm 32, that part I haven't put out yet. I'm writing it right now. It'll take a while because it's going to take a long time to write, because there's a lot of things to talk about. But once that's out, then you'll get to read about everything. Next question, Babyface Assassin. He says, can I make an Isaiah Thomas hoop handbook? He's referring to the Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas, not the Phoenix Suns Isaiah Thomas, for which there already is a program. He says, can I give him advice on talking your opponent out of his game? Since he needs an edge, instead of just playing the opponent out of the game, he wants to be able to do both like Zeke. Well, first of all, Babyface Assassin, talking an opponent out of the game is not something that you read about in a book, or you just do it because you saw somebody else doing it. That's a psychological thing, and not everybody is not wired that way. Isaiah Thomas is wired in a way that he could trash talk and still play well and outplay his opponent at the same time. Not everyone has that capability, and it's possible, Babyface Assassin, that you don't have that capability, so you shouldn't try to be someone whom you're not. And my assumption is that since you're asking me to tell you how to do it, that's not a capability you have. I think you should stick to being who you are. If you're good, you can outplay an opponent and not say a word, and you still accomplish the goal, which is outplaying your opponent, right? If you don't have the capability to out-talk somebody, to talk somebody out of their game, you have no idea where to begin or where to start. My suggestion is you shouldn't start, because you'll probably start talking to somebody who can do it better than you, and you'll end up getting the opposite effect, them talking you out of your game, or you talking yourself out of your game because you're trying to do something that doesn't come naturally, and then you'll lose focus of the goal, which is to actually outplay the person. Because at the end of the game, nobody keeps stats on who talked the most. We keep stats on who won the game and who outplayed who. So if your performance is at a high level, focus on making that as good as you can possibly make it, and nobody will care about what you said. And even if your opponent is trash talking, if you outplay them, then nobody will care what they said. Next is Easy Money. His question is, can I do the Ultimate Athlete program and the jump manual, the jump or vertical program, at the same time, or should you do them one after the other? Do I play any sports other than basketball? If you're doing an Ultimate Athlete program, do not do any other program with it at the same time. Ultimate Athlete by itself. If you're doing, you can do on the court basketball skill work, but do not do another off the court program at the same time as the Ultimate Athlete. Don't do anything at the same time as Position of Power. Don't do anything at the same time as Jump Manual. And he said, do I play any other sports other than basketball? No, I do not. Blineo says, are you going to make a site page on my website? He said, am I going to make in my website a page where people make an account and start an argument in a blog made by a person? I have no idea what that means. I think he means, am I going to have it where someone can make an account and actually post something on their own and let people discuss it on my website, dreallday.com? No, that's probably not going to happen. But if you do have something to say, you can always leave it in the comments to any page on my website and I'll respond to it. But it's not going to be like somebody makes an account and they have their own little section where they can write whatever they want. That is in the comments, but it's not going to be your own section like a Reddit or anything like that. That's not going to happen. That's why it's called dreallday.com, me. Next question, Rolando Urrutia says, Dre, I play really well against my friends, but when I tried out for the team, I played nothing compared to how I usually play. I end up not making the team. Can I help you out? Rolando, same thing I said to earlier questioner, go to the guides and tips page on my website, dreallday.com. I'm gonna put an annotation up here somewhere and in the video description. So make sure you check that link if you don't see the annotation and read what I wrote about that. Players who have trouble transferring their practice performance to the game performance. I understand that's a serious challenge for a lot of players coming up. So make sure you read that. And again, I got a video already done that's coming out for that. I might have to expedite that video since this seems to be an urgent question by a lot of players. Next is ball is my life. I said it. How could I get my footwork on point? Well, you get it on point by practicing it. I think you already know that. You got to ask me something more specific than that. Richard Chen says, I'm working on shooting with the same form consistently and also developing a fast release. Do I think it's better to focus on each mechanic separately, such as mastering one and then mastering the next, or to implement the shooting mechanics all at once in every shot you take? Well, Richard, what I think you should do, since you shooting, the only way you can master and practice shooting is to actually shoot the ball. You got to go through each part of your shot, whatever number of mechanics that happens to be. I don't know what form you're talking about. I'm not really a shooting coach. I don't really get too much into detail of what mechanics and how this goes and that goes. I know a lot of people do, but since you didn't even ask about that, I think you should work on all of it at once. So if you need to slow down and actually go slower and deliberately do a movement a certain way just to make sure you're doing the parts you want to do the correct way, whatever way you consider to be correct, do that. Start slowly and make sure you get it right. Once you get it right, then you can add the speed. So it's not about doing it as fast as you can and then getting it right once it's fast. It's about doing it right first. Once you have it right, you're doing it properly, then you add the speed. Next question. Asian Panoodles. He says, you probably get this question before. I'm a role player on my team and I would like to contribute a lot more. I feel like I'm the third best guard, slightly behind the two starting guards. I gotta put the power cord on my laptop here. He's the third best guard behind the two starting guards. He asked his coach about it, and he's done everything his coach said, such as control the tempo, move the ball. He dives for every ball in practice. He gets rebounds over taller kids. He knows all the plays. He works his ass off in all the drills. He's first in all the sprints. Do I have any advice on what to do to actually play more, because he's not satisfied playing 3 minutes a game? You know what? I wouldn't be satisfied playing 3 minutes a game either. So he said he's did everything. He asked the coach about it and done everything the coach has said. So what you need to do, Asian Panoodles, is go back to the coach and say, okay, I went to you and I did everything you said. So what do I need to do to actually play more in the game? So I don't know what you asked the coach in order for him to tell you what he told you, but you need to ask him specifically, I want to play more in the games. What do I need to do to get more playing time in the games? So make sure you are specific in what you're asking for so that you get the answer to the question you want answered. So I don't know what you asked them before, but make sure you're specific the next time. Cliff Stevens says, can I make more of the mixtapes like the pregame power mixtape? For those who don't know, that is also available on the guides and tips page on my website as a free download. He says, because holy shit, that was the most motivational 17 minutes of my life. LOL. He said, I'm even an artist in his iTunes as Dre Baldwin. Well, I'm honored to hear that. He said, gets him pumped up to hear some of my weekly motivations on a sick beat. Well, Cliff, that's actually a very good idea. I think I can take the motivations and put them into audio format with music in the background for any of them that don't have music and put those all out as download audios. That'll come. I didn't do it yet, but it'll come. I might need to get my assistant on that. I don't know if I want to be doing all that administrative work because that's a pain in the ass menial task, but it will come. So thank you for asking. Next is Carson Ortslip says, what should I do if I have a player on my team that takes a three every time down the court and he never passes the ball? Since he's a starting point guard, I can't dribble it up instead to prevent that. I think it's affecting my performance and our team record. I feel like he's the kind of guy who wants to pass less if I tell him to pass it, so please help. Well, Carson, the only thing you can really control is your performance. You can't really control another player's performance. I'm not sure how much you're exaggerating when you say he shoots the ball every time. I'm not sure he shoots it every time, because then that'd be like 53 point shots per game. That'd be a lot. So what you need to do is control your performance, step up your level of game. When your level of game is higher, let's say you grab a rebound, you can dribble the ball up the court. I don't think there's anyone physically preventing you from dribbling the ball up the court. Now, maybe the coach is saying you have to give that guy the ball, and if he really is shooting every time and they're not going in, I think the coach would do something. And if you really think it's a problem and nobody's doing anything, why don't you pull the coach aside and express your frustration with your teammate to the coach and see what your coach has to say. So the same thing you said to me, why don't you say that to your coach? Next question is Chris Legaspi says, what are my top 3 favorite moves? I don't really have a favorite move. It all depends on the game situation and the situation of the player that I'm playing against or the team that I'm playing against, the defense I'm playing against. Whatever is necessary to get to the goal based on the situation is my favorite move at that moment, and that could change from play to play, game to game. Next question, Space Gravy. So I was wondering, is it hard to walk on to a D1 school, and do players end up with a scholarship? Thanks. Well, I didn't go to a D1 school. I went to a Division III school. I walked on at a smaller school, which was 2 years athletically when I went there, and I got recruited to a Division III school. So is it hard to walk on? When you use the word hard, that's a very relative term, so it's hard for me to answer that because you can't quantify hard and easy based on another person's perception. So when you say hard, it depends on how much game you got. It depends on the players that you're going against to get that walk-on spot. So you would have to actually go do it and find out. If you're looking for something that's easy, I don't think any situation of walking onto a college team is easy. If you can play, then it'll be a better situation than if you can't play. And again, those are all extremely relative. So I got more specifics, and you had to ask me something that's more measurable than hard and easy, because those are very relative terms. He says, do players usually end up with a scholarship? Usually, again, another very relative term. What do you mean by usually? Like 50%, 10%, 90%? What is usually? And at the end of everything, Space Gravy, if your plan is, since I'm assuming based on your question that you're planning on walking onto a college team, what does it matter? None of this even matters, because if you're going to do it, then do it. So you'll find out the answers soon enough when you go do it. Because if I tell you it's hard and you usually don't end up with a scholarship, what does that mean? You're going to quit and not try? And if I tell you it's easy and you will get a scholarship, or you're going to be more confident in doing it? So I don't know, maybe that'll help you with a sort of placebo effect. But if that's what you're planning on doing, then just do it. Me telling you this is not going to change the facts, the realities, and when you actually get out there and try it. So go do it and find out. Next, Michael Walschlager says, do I prefer the 1 or the 2-step floater? And have I ever made a video on hand checking? Is it easy to get away with it? I don't prefer either for the 1 or 2-step floater. I prefer whatever results in the ball going in the basket. You want to have the ability to do either one so that based on the game situation, you can call on either skill instinctively without having to think about it, which means you have to practice both enough that you can do either without having to stop and think, because by the time you think of it, the situation will be gone, your opportunity will be lost. He says, have I made a video on hand checking? What about hand checking? Is it easy to get away with? Again, this easy and hard stuff, this is extremely relative. I can't really answer what's easy for you or what's easy for anyone else. And when we're talking about hand checking, there's no video to be made on it because I can't really say hand checking is a skill. Hand checking has really been outlawed in most of basketball because we've opened up the game to make it more easy, relatively speaking, for the offensive players to get space, to get off shots, because basketball officials or basketball, federations, whether that be the NBA, the FIBA, anywhere else, they want more scoring because that's more exciting. That'll draw more fans to the game. It just makes it a more enjoyable product to watch. So as far as hand checking, I don't think you need a video on hand checking. You don't even need to be thinking about it. Just go out there and play and find out. The answer to that question is something you're gonna find by playing, not something that you find by thinking or watching or reading. Next, Skyland Stevens says, Dre, if I have 4 games left in middle school, I need to work on my ball handling for high school, but I still want to finish the season strong. Do I keep working on my post moves or ball handling now? What's stopping you from doing both? Dmitry Tukovic says, I've been injured for 3 weeks. He had some injury with his foot that he got from overtraining and improper footwear. But before the injury, he's working out twice a day. He's very physically active. His question is, since his foot injury has gone away and his foot feels better, how does he get back to working out and playing ball and not get injured again? Because the doctor said if he re-injures, it's going to take surgery and it may cause permanent numbness in his foot, and the recovery would take months. He doesn't want to ruin his year. Well, Dimitri, I am not a doctor. I am 0% qualified to answer that question. The person you need to ask that question to is not anyone on YouTube or a commenter or not even one of your friends. You need to ask a licensed professional, i.e. your doctor. The same person who gave you that information, that's the person you need to talk to. Peter Espinoza says, how many hours should someone practice if you're barely picking up basketball and you want to be good? Well, how to be good in basketball is not measured by how many hours you spend practicing. Somebody could tell me they spend 6 hours a day practicing, they can't make a fucking layup. So how much you spend practicing is not measured by time, it's about what you're actually achieving when you work out, which means you need to know what it is you want to achieve before you get on the court to work out. So what is it that you want to achieve? When you say you want to be good, that is not measurable, it's not at all specific, it's very vague. How do you define good? What skills do you want to be able to have? Once you know that, then you can know what you need to work on to get there. So you work backwards. You figure out the goal first, then you figure out if you want to put something in the middle is why do you want to reach this goal, which is what will give you your motivation to keep going even when you don't feel like it. And then the third thing is what do I need to do? So a lot of people start with the what do I need to do? How many hours do I practice is a what do I need to do? First of all, you figure out what the hell do you want and why are you doing it? Then is what do I need to do? Next question. Yell Nats 1234. He says, can intramural basketball be a stepping stone to the actual college team? That's if you're good enough or assistant coaches take notice. Well, Yell Nats, if you want the coach or assistant coach of the basketball team to take notice, then you need to go to where the basketball team's at, not intramurals. The coach doesn't need to watch intramurals because he already has a whole team of people who are on the actual team. What does he need to watch intramurals for? If you want to be on a basketball team, go to basketball team tryouts or go find one of the players who's on a basketball team and ask them, hey, where can I go? What do I need to do to actually prove that I can be on a basketball team? Or better yet, go to the office of the coach or assistant coach. I mean, their offices are right there on the college campus. Go talk to them. Go ask them directly, what do I need to do to get on the basketball team? And they'll tell you, and then you'll have 100% of the answer, and it won't be no vagueness. There'll be no opinions. There'll be actual facts from the people who control that answer. Next question. Christian Iron says, what are some things you do to prepare for a tryout or game physically or mentally? Well, I don't know what you mean. What do I do to prepare? Do you mean like the day of the game, or do you mean like weeks before the game? You mean months before, years before? The day of the game, Let's see, before a game, of course, you got your layup line, your warm-up drills. If you mean kind of before that, maybe stretch, drink some water, maybe do some foam roll. Depends on how my body feels. That's not something that I would actually have to do every single day. Depends on how my body feels and what I'm doing. Ask me something a little bit more specific. I can give you a better answer. Next question, Air Game 15 says, is $20 for one pair of Elite socks worth it? I usually just wear the average cotton sock when I play ball. Are Elites more comfortable, and what are the benefits? Well, first of all, Air Game, I don't work for any company that sells Elite socks, so for me to tell you the benefits, I'm not the person qualified to do that, because I don't really give a damn if there are benefits or if they're not. Do I think, he said, are they worth it? Worth it is another very relative term. Is $20 worth it? It depends. I mean, if you have no socks at all and somebody offers you a pair for $20, then I guess it's worth it. If you got 100 pairs of socks, somebody offers you a pair for 20, then it's probably not worth it because you already got plenty of socks. So it depends on what it is you want to achieve. Is wearing the socks, what are they going to do for you? Is the question you need to ask yourself, Air Game. What are you missing? What are you not getting from your regular socks that you think you're going to get from the Elite socks? And once you can answer that question, then you can find out if the Elite socks provide that. If they do, then I guess it's worth $20. And if it doesn't, then I guess they're not worth $20. But that's the question you got to answer. Worth it is relative. Like, I might think it's worth it to spend $100 on a car wash, and you might think it's worth it to spend $3 on like the automatic joint that you go through the machine and you can just sit in your car and it takes 2 minutes. So worth it is, again, another very relative term. You had to be much more specific. Me personally, when it comes to Elite socks, I have a few pairs. I didn't actually buy them. I got them for free. But would I spend $20 on a pair of socks? No, I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean somebody else shouldn't. It depends on what you want, what you consider is worth it, and what you consider isn't. Next, Tough Tanny. He says, in this year, there are so many online ballers. And he says he's pretty sure I know of. They're posting basically the same thing that I put in my channel, and it goes from amateur teens who post edited workouts, and then young cats posting tutorials claiming they're the cream of the crop, claiming to be popular. He says, does it kind of piss me off when that happens? Well, the first thing, Tough Tanny, you have to understand is I don't pay attention to, nor do I care about what anybody else is doing other than what I'm doing. If it doesn't directly affect me, then I don't even pay attention. So the people you're referring to, I don't even know who you're talking about. And it doesn't even matter, because in the end, I know what I'm capable of, what I did. And as far as the basketball workouts online genre, I invented this. I was the first person doing it. And any of you don't believe me, you could go back and check through my channel, see when I started posting vids and see when anybody else started posting. I was doing it before them. And on top of that, if you look at my real life basketball resume, none of the YouTube guys you want to talk about, none of them compare to me. So that's really all I would have to say about that, Tough Tanny. I don't pay attention to what nobody else is doing or think about anyone comparing or saying they're the cream of anything, because if we were to lay out the facts, then it wouldn't even be a debate. But thank you for the question. Next is It's On. Says, what position would you want to be in the NBA? What's your favorite position to play? Well, I play the guard position. It isn't really a favorite. You wouldn't really have that much of a choice. Based on size, I would play the guard position. Now, some players may have a size where they could play multiple positions, but if you're talking about at the pro level, I would play the guard position pretty much anywhere I played. Henry P.L. says, Dre, I'm in high school. Well, it would be middle school in the United States, he says, in Australia. Do I have tips on balancing studying and practicing basketball? If so, thank you. Henry, go to the guides and tips page on my website. I have a post written explicitly about that topic, balancing schoolwork and athletics. Last question, Jacoby Valentin says, I've been playing freshman level ball, and there are a lot of people from around the school that says I'm definitely one of the top 5 freshman players in the school, but I don't get time in the games. I asked the coach, and he said, you barely know the plays. I'm not saying I don't like the plays, but I feel like my coach is telling me that knowing the play is more important than skill, and that just makes me feel that putting in hard work is a waste of time, that I should focus more on plays through my 4 years of high school. What do I think about that thought? I had plays being more important than the skills. All right, well, first of all, Jacoby, let's start with the first thing. You said a lot of people around school says you're definitely one of the top 5 freshman players in the school. Who the fuck cares? None of them are the coach. None of them is a college coach. None of them is a high school coach. None of them have any power or control to get you anywhere that you want to go. So what a whole bunch of people in school say doesn't matter. All right, so actually take that idea, that thought, and throw it away, because it doesn't matter at all, 0%. Second of all, people told you you're one of the top 5 players, but you're not getting any time in the games. Well, guess what, Jacoby? You're not one of the top 5 players because you're not getting any time in the games. Because what you do in the game is how you determine how good you are. So if you ain't getting in, then you're not that good. So, and I'm not telling you that to bash you and make you feel bad about yourself, but I'm telling you that in order to get to point B, you got to understand that you're at point A. So first of all, you got to understand that you're at point A. So stop listening to people who have no control, no power, and they don't have any type of sway to put you anywhere you want to get, telling you that you're good. Because all that's going to do is get you to buy your own bullshit, and then you're going to start to think that you're good when you're not, and then that's going to stop you from being motivated to actually do the steps, take the steps necessary to become good, because you think you already are good because you listen to people who don't know what they're talking about. Person who does know what they're talking about is your coach, because your coach is the one who determines who gets in the games, right? And if he's the one got you sitting on the bench, then you better listen to what he tells you. He told you you're not getting in the games because you don't know the plays. So if you want to get in the games, Jacoby, what do you think you need to do? Learn the plays. Learn the plays. So there's nothing stopping you from learning the plays and working on your skills. Nobody said you had to pick one or the other. You, for whatever reason, don't know the plays. Now, there are other people on the team who get in the games, they know the plays. So what's stopping you from knowing the plays? So what you need to do if you want to get in the game and prove that you are one of the top 5 players, to make all the people around school who are telling you that you're good, you want to make them look like they know what they're talking about, go learn the plays so that you can get in the game and you can show all the skills that you've been working so hard on. That's all there is to it. That's it for the Q&A this week. Thank you everyone for the good questions. The questions have been good for the last several weeks, so let's keep this going. Again, if you have a question, leave it in the comments to this video. I will respond to it next week. There's 1 question per person. A couple people in here posted multiple questions. I'm only addressing the first question that you asked, so don't post multiple questions. And don't answer nobody else's question. We've been doing good with that. That's it, everybody. WOYG.net, where you can get your gear. HoopHandbook.com, where you get the programs. DreAllDay.com, you can get more information in written format. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com. Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here. And make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.